Next up, we have a conference regular. He does have a sword hanging up on his wall when you see him. He is our health and safety guru. So Andy Ely will be giving us our regular health and safety update. Thank you, Andrew.
Right, good morning. Hopefully Tim could nod if this is successfully on your screens. I'm a bit disappointed that no one has given me a cue for a dodgy limerick or even a partial limerick, so I'm afraid we'll just have to head straight on into the presentation. But good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for tuning in. Right, the first slide, I hope, is just a reminder. You might have seen this slide before, but just in case you thought you might be able to get away with something after Brexit, I'm afraid not. I'm not going to go through all the details on there, but legislative mechanisms were put in place to ensure that EU-derived health and safety protections will continue after Brexit. Just some very minor changes. So all the normal things that you do are still there, you still need to do them. And to repeat the quote some time ago from HSE, after Brexit, we have to continue to manage our businesses and our employees in a proportionate way to reduce risk and to protect people and the environment. And it's business as usual. Our obligations to protect people's health and safety will not change. If you're a manufacturer, supplier of equipment and machinery, just a tip, you're probably already on the ball with this one. You need to check out HSE and .gov.uk websites to see what you may need to do with the UKCA marking as opposed to CE marking, UK conformity assessed marking, that means. So we've got some more information on that if everybody needs it, because we are a notified body as well under the Machinery Directive. Okay, those of you who invite me into your premises to poke around and audit what you're up to are probably familiar with a tactic where I might be might spend some time admiring your pristine factory floor, but I will also go poking around into outbuildings and side issues off here and there. And one of the side issues at the moment during the COVID pandemic is home and off-site workers. Understandably, your main focus of risk control is on your factory and plant operation and premises. So you've no doubt put increased communication, consultation, monitoring and policing measures in place to cope with this. And also to cope with possible spot checks from the HSE. We were talking at the forum recently, and there were some highlights of HSE interaction interventions with some of our clients, and non-SPA client has also had some intervention as well. So understandably, your concentration will be on that. But it's easy to overlook those and take for granted those working at home or off-site. You know, I don't think many of us anticipated how long this was going to go on for, and what might have been seen like a temporary thing for 2 or 3 months is now continuing and now being encouraged to go back to work. Home workers, physical and mental stress factors, I think that's something that will be spoken about in more depth later on. It's brought about perhaps by isolation, the decreased communication, consultation, and the lack of casual contact, which I don't think is appreciated much, how much casual contact there is when you're in a workplace, the odd bit of reassurance, the odd bit of contact there. Of course, those of us who are familiar with working at home will be very familiar indeed with the family pressures and distractions, but when you're persistently working at home and not geared up for it, that can be a considerable stressor. Workstation setup, well, makeshift facilities might be okay for short periods, but who knows how long this is going to last, and people are, you know, having been encouraged to return to work and now being encouraged to go back to work again. So the actual physical setup of the workstation can be a physical and a mental stress factor. Another consideration for off-site workers like your drivers, peripatetic workers, your communication methods may have changed, their access to your facilities may have changed, and there can be issues with lack of welfare facilities as well. So what to do about that? It's a very large subject, and believe me, I can talk about it for a lot longer than we have here today, but just some highlights. You need to make sure that there's a substitute for your normal casual contact at work. The communication thing has already been stressed already today. So I'd suggest you brief your managers to ensure that they get some regular one-to-one contact as well as team meetings with home workers to increase their involvement to compensate from this isolation. And the lack of communication can be a significant aspect in stress. Physical and mental aspects, I'd recommend a virtual workstation assessment, and be prepared to provide the equipment if you need to. Raid your office for extra monitors, keyboards, seats, chairs being one of the most important things to alleviate this. But ultimately, if the home cannot support reasonable working conditions physically or socially, considering the individual, the last resort may be to consider a return, or at least a partial return, to your premises, but under controlled circumstances. So if it's really not working out, then you should consider a return to your own premises. I had a video conference with someone recently who apologetically, with much banging and crashing, had to vacate where he was because his wife was on coming in to do a business call herself, and the banging and crashing was actually erecting the ironing board in the bedroom, to put his laptop on. Appreciate that some people may be working in a one-bedroom flat, is what we should be thinking of. And on the emotional side, some people are sensitive to this for the isolation and for working at home, need some consideration. With the drivers and other peripatetic workers, you've had to change your premises around very likely, and you need to adapt your communication methods to ensure frequent communication. So you're needing to be reinforcing the knowledge of correct COVID-related behaviours, because you're not always with these people. So, and also you need to stress their sense of personal responsibility in this as well, but very importantly, allow their feedback. What has been highlighted by HSE is that people are not aware that they should be providing visiting drivers with suitable welfare facilities. So even though your premises may be effectively locked down to non-essential visitors, you should still be providing some kind of a welfare facility for people who have to legitimately visit you. So in this respect, you may have to remind other organisations of their statutory obligations to make suitable provision for visiting personnel. So I think at the heart of this, again, is communication to start with, finding out what the situations are, and then taking appropriate action. But you need to step up, I think, from your traditional communication methods to cope with this, the people working from home, the people isolated, and the people who you're less able to supervise because they're wandering about, not under your control. So that's all I'm going to say today. Please let me have any questions or feedback on that. I'll be pleased to answer.
Thanks for that, Andy. And please do use the helpline, the hotline telephone. Andrew is available, Andy is available anytime. So please use that. Obviously.